So we're here with Miss Sofia Marsden. We're going to ask you some quick, brief questions and then we could go from there, right? All right, can you state your full name?
My name is Sofia Marsden.
Where were you born?
I was born in St. Helena, Cayo, because my mother was from there, but my father is from Belize City. So I guess my mother went to her mother to give birth.
Okay, and when is your date of birth?
My 30th of September, 3949.
Okay. What's your mother's name?
Fabiana Marsden, but she was Castellanos from
Okay, your dad?
Albert Marsden Sr.
Okay, how many siblings did you have?
8, I mean 7, 8 of us. My father had 2 before and then with my mother. I'm the second one of the second group.
Okay. So we're focusing on Hurricane Hattie. Do you remember where you were when you first heard about Hurricane Hattie and how did you hear about it?
I lived in Belize City all my life, well, up to 51 years ago, but I was in Belize City.
Okay, and how did you hear about it? Would it have been the radio? Someone told you?
I don't quite remember how I first heard about it, but I remember close as the day progressed, must be like this hour or so, we heard that a storm was coming. I remember that in Belize City, where I live, or where we lived, it was like a family street, because my uncle lived across there, my auntie, and they're still there. They're still there. My father worked at Public Works, so he was out. But my uncle was a customs officer in Ted Marsden, and somehow we got to know, as children, we got to know that a storm is coming, but my father was out working out somewhere until in the evening, was about 3 o'clock. I mean, the news was getting more active, and we, because my father wasn't there, well, we didn't know what to do, but he did come like after 3 or so, and then afterwards we started he and my mother started getting us ready, but yet still we had I remember the family or the neighborhood had a lot of things to do, how to prepare ourselves to move and when to move. But I remember we didn't move immediately. My father let us, we moved around 6 in the evening. Then people were already, some had already gone. And at that time I was going, or the children were going to St. Ignatius School. St. Ignatius Church, St. Ignatius School. So I remember it was already like twilight, getting late, and they decided to let us roll out from here. My second to youngest sister was the baby. Her name is Teresita. And so we just got ready and went to Ignatius. And if you know St. Ignatius, that's a big school. It's a high school, it's still there. So when we got to St. Ignatius, we went in a classroom, of course, but a lower school, the bottom of the school, the first floor. So we were there, and a lot of other people. But it's, as I said, it's getting dark, it's turning to night. And I believe it's a security or what, I mean, we are used to that word right now. But somebody said, you all need to get out from here. You all need to get out from here. And so I think they broke down a wall. I remember clearly the classroom was on the edge of the building, not like the middle, but the corner of the building, that classroom. And that building is a wide building. So you have a classroom here, then you have a wall, and then you have the other classroom, and possibly three classrooms. So we had to break down that wall, and somebody break down that wall, and we come out in the open. The time the wind is blowing. And to the back of that school is a step to go up, the second step, the back step, back. So we had to cut through a classroom, break down the wall, and then get out of the building and up onto the step. And it was scary. It was because with 8 of us behind our parents with a baby in their arms, which my second to youngest, and then they couldn't look to see that we're all there. But he took and handed the baby to somebody to assist, to go up ahead. And so we all got together with other people, and we got upstairs, and then he was looking for the baby, but eventually he found somebody hand. But I remember clearly that first part of the story, how we got upstairs in a very crowded room because everybody wants to save their lives in the dark. It was dark. It was not easy to find your way. And while up there, the storm did really show its power, and it started to blow and this and that and everything. And if you know St. Ignatius, it's as I say, it's a high building. And in the morning, I remember us as children, we could have touched the water like that. We actually had to really play the water. We put our fingers and our hands in the water from the veranda. The water was so high from the veranda.
Second floor.
Splash. And that building is about high as this building. It's high. And we passed, I believe, about 2 days or so there. And then going back home, when they say you could go back home, it was another story because I remember clearly the water, they reached me way up here, so. And we're going back home. And then slowly the water they come down, but I mean when we first, and our house was still there, but with a lot of mud. It was really muddy, and our house wasn't it was there, but not a cement house, not a wooden house. Wooden house, all muddy and everything destroyed. Everything. From bed to kitchen things to books or school books and everything. They got destroyed. And after a while, I forgot to mention that this area is Alexander Street, which leads on to Vernon Street. At that time, it was the beginning. In front of our house was like grass. After that, they call that area Prisoner Creek. But we used to play in the grass right in front of our house. That means our house was almost the end of the little town and a little, some days after, I guess, the rationing start on the street behind us, which is Richard Street. But some people used to call it, Richard's sidewalk, but actually it's not a sidewalk, it's a real street behind us. Richard Street, which goes up, to the canal side, which has a parallel of Regent Street West. So I remember they were just putting up a new building there. I think after a while that became like a warehouse or so. Right up Richard Street, which parallels it, and there is where on Richard Street and Regent Street, like a junction.
Intersection.
People used to make lines, make a queue there to go and collect ration at this building that turned out to be a storeroom.
Do you remember who from your family went to pick up the ration, what it was like?
Me and my sister, because we were kind of the oldest one. We were the oldest, me and a sister that follows me, Elena. And because, between us two is my brother who has polio, who had polio from he was 2. So, but he didn't go, but mostly me and my sister, we had to carry our bags to get stuff. And so because we didn't live far from, it's just this next street to get this ration, and a lot of people, there was lack of food, lack of most essentials, and of course, as I said, the mud and the cleaning, the mud there and the cleaning that had to be done, it was so intense that sometimes it was hard for children to really deal with the massive work that was assigned. Was still, well, you have to help with this mud cleaning. There was not enough clothes to change, no? Not enough clothes, hardly had clothes and food. The basic things were lacking.
Okay. Do you know of anyone that passed away that you might have known in the hurricane?
No. I only know about Bert. About Bert burning in hurricane. And the neighbor, it was a Garbott family. They had, Mrs. Garbott had her baby on the 31st of October.
During the hurricane?
Yeah, I know about Bert. I don't know about that. Like, we all survived, or at least around that area. We had lamps, water. I guess there was. I don't know how we get. I think they were giving away. They were giving away some water at that storeroom area, because you see, in that area also there's this it's still there up my uncle's house, right in front. There's that lane that they call Turtle Lane, and at the end of Turtle Lane, on the right hand side, there was where the Peakmans they lived, and there was where a standpipe was there. So that was there even before the hurricane, because we used to go and get water there and right in front of the pipe area. There is where Dean Barrow and Brennan lived. Dean Barrow. The former Prime Minister Brennan, that area. They lived there. in front there. But we live more on the main, the other side. Everything is still there. But the hurricane was an intense hurricane, I remember that clearly, because we could have felt it. I mean, that movement from downstairs up, that could have blown us away. It was very dangerous for us. But the decision came at the correct time. The decision came at the correct time to move out from down there, break that wall, come out of the building and up the stairs. I don't know if you all know St. Ignatius, but that place is still there. Every time I go to, but when I pass there, I remember my days there at that school. That's a wonderful building, because thank God that building is still there, because you seem to break down everything here, you know. But thank God, with God's almighty guidance, that building is still there, that St. Ignatius building.